I stood in the lobby of TechCore Solutions that Monday morning, holding a bouquet of white imperial orchids in my hands. My heart pounded with a strange mix of excitement and dread. I had worked here for 12 years, climbing from intern to regional director, pouring my soul into every project, every late night, every sacrifice. This morning I woke at 5, chose my navy suit, carefully stopped by the florist to welcome our new CEO properly. But something felt wrong. The air tasted metallic. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted my silver tie. I had no idea that in less than 10 minutes my entire world would shatter right there in the lobby. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe because trust me, the way this story unfolds will leave you speechless. You need to understand how I got to this moment, and more importantly, what I had done just 3 days before. Stay with me. The ending. You will not see it coming. 12 years ago, I was 23 years old with a fresh diploma and exactly $300 in my checking account. The day I walked into TechCore Solutions for my interview, I wore a borrowed suit that hung loose on my shoulders. Mr. Howard, the founder and CEO, sat across from me in his corner office overlooking downtown Seattle. He was 62 then, with silver hair and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He asked me one question that changed my life. What are you willing to sacrifice for excellence? I told him the truth. Everything. He hired me on the spot as an intern, starting salary $28,000 a year. I lived in a studio apartment with no furniture, except a mattress on the floor and a folding chair. I ate ramen noodles 4 nights a week, but I showed up every single day at 7 in the morning and left at 11 at night. Mr. Howard noticed. He became more than a boss. He taught me how to read financial reports, how to negotiate with vendors, how to lead people without crushing their spirits. When I made mistakes, and I made plenty, he pulled me aside privately, explained what went wrong, then sent me back out to fix it. By my 3rd year, I was managing a small team. By year 5, I became the youngest senior manager in company history. The promotion to regional director came 2 years ago. I was 33, responsible for operations across Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. We opened 7 new branches under my watch. Revenue in my region jumped 200%. I hired 300 people. Good people who needed jobs, who had families to feed. I remembered every single one of their names. When Maria in Boise had her baby, I sent flowers. When James in Portland lost his father, I flew down for the funeral. This was not just business to me. This was family. 3 months ago, Mr. Howard called an all-hands meeting. His voice shook as he announced his retirement. Stage 3 cancer. The doctors gave him 2 years if he was lucky. The entire office went silent. People cried openly. I sat in the back row feeling like someone had knocked the wind out of me. He was only 71. He deserved more time. The board of directors decided to hire externally, rather than promote from within. I understood their reasoning, even though it stung. They wanted fresh perspective, someone who could take TechCore to the next level. The announcement came 4 weeks later. Adrian Walsh, 42 years old, former CEO of 2 major tech firms, MBA from Harvard Business School. 20 years of executive experience. Her resume sparkled like a diamond, but the rumors started immediately. Sarah from marketing forwarded me an article from a business journal. Adrian had fired 130 people during her first month at her previous company. She shut down entire departments without warning. Former employees described her as ruthless cold, someone who valued spreadsheets over human beings. I tried to stay optimistic. Maybe those stories were exaggerated. Maybe she was just tough, which was not necessarily bad. Companies sometimes needed difficult decisions. I decided to make a good first impression. On Friday afternoon, I left work early and drove to the nicest florist in the city. The owner, an elderly woman named Rosa, showed me several options. I chose the Imperial Orchids Pure White Elegant, expensive at $150. She wrapped them in silver paper and tied them with a cream ribbon. Perfect. Sunday night, I barely slept. I kept rehearsing what I would say when I met Adrian. Good morning, welcome to TechCore. We are thrilled to have you here. These are for you, a small gesture of respect. I hoped she would appreciate the effort, see that we were a team ready to work hard for her vision. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. I got to the gym by 5:30, ran 4 miles on the treadmill, showered, shaved carefully. At home, I put on my best navy suit, the one I saved for important client meetings. I polished my black Oxfords until they gleamed. The orchids sat on my kitchen counter, still fresh and beautiful. I picked them up gently, placed them on the passenger seat of my car, drove to the office. I arrived at 8:15 earlier than usual. The parking lot was already full. Inside, the atmosphere felt thick with tension. People stood in clusters, whispering, glancing nervously at the elevators. I walked past the reception desk where Jennifer, who had worked here 9 years, gave me a weak smile. She looked terrified. Sarah caught my arm near the coffee station. I heard she fired 20 people on her first day at her last company. Just walked in and started calling names. David from IT joined us, his face pale. Dude, I updated my resume last night. I am not kidding. I have 3 kids. I tried to calm them down. Come on, give her a chance. We are a solid team. Our numbers are good. We have nothing to worry about. But even as I said it, my stomach twisted. The Orchids suddenly felt heavy in my hands. At exactly 9 o'clock, an email hit everyone's inbox simultaneously. All senior management to the main lobby immediately. No exceptions. I joined 24 other managers filing toward the elevators. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the clicking of heels on marble floors. We formed a loose semicircle in the lobby, waiting. The elevator chimed. The doors slid open. Adrienne Walsh stepped out, and the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. She wore a black suit so sharp it could cut glass. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun. She stood nearly 6 feet tall in her stilettos, and her eyes were the color of steel. She did not smile. She did not offer a greeting. She walked to the center of the lobby, her heels echoing like gunshots. She scanned our faces one by one, taking her time, letting the silence stretch until it became unbearable. Then she spoke, her voice clear and cold. Some of you will not be here by lunch. Adrienne turned and walked toward the large conference room, without waiting to see if we followed. We did like sheep walking toward a slaughterhouse. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Usually it was a space for celebration, for quarterly reviews, where we shared victories. Today it felt like a courtroom. Nobody sat down, though. There were 50 chairs arranged in rows. We stood in awkward clusters, shifting our weight, avoiding eye contact. I still held the Orchids, feeling more foolish with each passing second. Adrienne stood at the front, arms crossed, waiting until the door closed behind the last person. She began without preamble. This company is failing. Your inefficiency is costing us millions. I have spent the past 2 weeks reviewing every department, every expense report, every performance metric. What I found was appalling. You have been coasting on past success while competitors sprint past you. That ends today. She clicked a remote, and a presentation appeared on the screen behind her. Charts and graphs filled with red arrows pointing downward. Operating costs up 40% over 3 years. Customer retention down 18%. Employee productivity below industry standard. I frowned. Those numbers did not match the reports I had seen. Our region was thriving. Where did she get this data? I considered raising my hand, asking for clarification. But the energy in the room was so hostile, so charged, that I kept quiet. Adrienne continued her speech, her voice never wavering, never softening. I do not believe in sentimentality. I believe in results. I do not care how long you have worked here, or how comfortable you have become. I care about one thing: performance. And most of you are not performing. She paused, letting that sink in. Then she dropped the hammer. Effective immediately, we are implementing a restructuring plan. 30% workforce reduction across all departments. We will close 5 branches within 6 months. All discretionary spending is frozen. All projects not directly tied to revenue generation are canceled. This is not up for discussion. This is happening. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone near the back let out a choked sob. Adrienne ignored it. She picked up a tablet from the table beside her. Now, let us address individual performance. I am going to call several names. When I call your name, step forward. My heart hammered against my ribs. I glanced down at the orchids in my hands. The white petals seemed to mock me now. What had I been thinking? This woman did not want flowers. She wanted blood. Gerald Henderson. Adrienne's voice cut through the room like a blade. Gerald. Our director of operations stepped forward. He was 56 years old, married with 2 kids in college. He had worked at TechCore for 15 years. Adrienne looked him up and down as if inspecting a defective product. Your performance has been subpar. Your department consistently misses deadlines and exceeds budgets. Security will escort you out within the hour. Pack your personal items and surrender your keycard. Gerald's face went white. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. But Adrian cut him off with a raised hand. We are done here. Next. Amanda Reeves. Amanda from Human Resources came forward, tears already streaming down her face. She did not even get a full explanation. Just the same cold dismissal. Your services are no longer required. Security will assist you. Carlos Martinez from Finance was next then, Jennifer Liu from Customer Service, then Patrick O'Brien from IT. One by one, Adrian dismantled people's lives in front of their colleagues. No privacy, no compassion, no thank you for your years of service. Just clinical, brutal efficiency. I counted 8 people called and dismissed before she said my name. Francisco. Time stopped. I felt every eye in the room turn toward me. My legs moved automatically, carrying me forward, even though my brain screamed at me to run. I stopped 3 feet from Adrian, still clutching the ridiculous orchids. She looked at the flowers, and her mouth curved into something that might have been a smile on someone with a soul. On her, it looked predatory. Francisco, your era is over. She said it slowly, emphasizing each word, making sure everyone heard. You represent everything outdated about this company. 12 years of mediocrity ends today. You have been comfortable too long coasting on relationships, rather than results. That stops now. I could not breathe. Mediocrity, I had given everything to this place. I had sacrificed relationships, vacations, my health. I built 3 departments from nothing. I trained dozens of people who went on to leadership roles. My region generated more revenue than any other. And she called it mediocrity. Adrian stepped closer. Security is waiting at the door. Take your flowers and go. Do not attempt to contact any current employees or clients. Your email access has been terminated. Your company phone will be deactivated in 10 minutes. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings from your office. Then I want you gone. Someone laughed. A short, nervous bark of laughter from somewhere in the crowd. Someone who thought this was funny, or someone trying to score points with the new boss by mocking the fallen. The sound cut through me worse than Adrian's words. I looked around the room at people I had worked beside for years. Some looked away. A few met my eyes with sympathy. Most just looked relieved it was not them. I wanted to say something. I wanted to defend myself, to list my accomplishments, to challenge her twisted version of reality. But what was the point? She had already decided. Instead, I nodded once, turned, and walked toward the door. 2 security guards I did not recognize fell into step behind me, as if I might steal office supplies on my way out. The walk through the office felt endless. Past cubicles where people quickly averted their eyes. Past the break room where I had shared countless lunches and late-night pizzas. Past the wall of photos documenting company milestones. There I was in half of them. Ribbon cutting in Denver. Team celebration in Portland. Charity run last spring. All meaningless now. My office was on the 3rd floor, a corner space I had earned through years of hard work. I grabbed a cardboard box from the supply closet and started packing. 12 years fit into one box. A few framed photos. My college diploma. The Manager of the Year award from 2 years ago. A coffee mug my team had given me, with World's Best Boss printed on it. I almost left it behind, but at the last second I tucked it into the box. At the building exit I stopped and looked back one final time. The marble lobby, the massive TechCore logo on the wall, the employee directory that still listed my name. I walked over to the trash can near the door and dropped the orchids in. The white petals looked obscene against the black plastic bag. Then I pushed through the glass doors into the cold morning air and did not look back again. 3 days earlier, Friday afternoon. The law offices of Wilson & Associates occupied the 20th floor of a building downtown. I sat in a conference room with dark wood paneling and leather chairs that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Mr. Howard sat across from me, looking frailer than I remembered. 3 lawyers in expensive suits flanked him, their briefcases open on the table. Francisco, thank you for coming on short notice. Mr. Howard's voice was softer, now worn by illness and age. I wanted to talk to you about something important before I step away completely. Of course, sir. Anything you need. I folded my hands on the table, confused about why he needed a team of lawyers present. He smiled, that familiar warm smile that had always made me feel valued. You have been like a son to me. I mean that sincerely. You have built this company as much as I have over the past 12 years. You care about the people, not just the profits. That is rare these days. Thank you, Mr. Howard. That means everything to me. His expression turned serious. I am retiring, but I do not trust the board's decision to hire Adrian Walsh. I have heard things about her. She is a corporate raider, not a builder. She tears apart companies for short-term gains, then moves on before the damage becomes obvious. She is going to destroy everything we have created. I shifted uncomfortably. The board seemed confident in her qualifications. The board is looking at her resume, not her character. Mr. Howard leaned forward. So I have made a decision. I am selling you 49% of my controlling shares in TechCore. I blinked. Sir, I do not have that kind of money. Those shares are worth millions. He held up a hand. I am not selling them to you for market value. I am transferring them for $1. These papers here, he gestured to the stack of documents in front of the lawyers, make you the largest individual shareholder after the board's collective holdings. Adrian will have operational control as CEO, but any major decisions affecting company structure require shareholder approval. And Francisco, you have veto power. I stared at him. Why would you do this? Because you will protect the people. Adrian is going to come in swinging. She is going to fire people, close branches, gut departments. When she does, you can stop her. But you need to be patient. He leaned back, his eyes holding mine. Sign these papers today. Keep it absolutely quiet. Let her show her true colors first. Give her enough rope. Then, when the time is right, you act. One of the lawyers, a woman with gray hair, pulled back in a bun, slid a pen across the table toward me. Everything is legal and binding. We have structured it to avoid any conflicts of interest or securities violations. The transfer will be filed with the state on Monday morning. You will officially become a major shareholder, but the information will not be public for several days. My hand shook as I picked up the pen. Are you sure about this, mister? Howard, I have never been more sure of anything. His eyes were fierce despite his weakened body. You earned this. Now use it wisely. I signed 7 different documents, each one witnessed and notarized. When the last signature was complete, Mr. Howard reached across the table and shook my hand. Be patient, Francisco. Your time will come. I promise you that. I left the law office in a daze, the weight of what had just happened not fully sinking in. I drove home, made dinner, went to bed. All weekend I kept the secret locked inside. When Monday morning came and I bought those orchids, part of me wondered if I should just stay home. But Mr. Howard's words echoed in my mind. Let her show her true colors first. So I went. I stood there with flowers in my hands, and let Adrian Walsh humiliate me in front of my colleagues. I let her call me mediocre. I let security escort me out like a criminal. And the whole time I knew something she did not. The first day after being fired was strange. I woke up at my usual time, 5:30 in the morning, then realized I had nowhere to go. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and stared at my phone. Part of me still could not believe it had happened. But the evidence was there in my terminated email access, my deactivated keycard sitting uselessly on the counter. I called the lawyer, Miss Patterson, at 9 o'clock. What are my options now? Her voice was crisp and professional. As a major shareholder, you have the right to call an emergency board meeting to address issues affecting the company's fundamental structure. Mass terminations without shareholder consultation qualify as such an issue, particularly when they impact long-term operational capacity. How long do I have? You need to file within 72 hours of the triggering event. We can submit the paperwork today, if you would like. The board is required to convene within 5 business days of a shareholder request. I thought about it. Not yet. I want to wait. May I ask why? Because I want to see what else she does. I need more than just one bad day. I need a pattern. Miss Patterson was quiet for a moment. That is strategic. Very well. But do not wait too long. You lose leverage with every day that passes. I spent Tuesday and Wednesday gathering information. I called Gerald, the first person Adrian had fired. He was bitter, understandably, but he gave me details about the termination process. No severance package. No explanation beyond what happened in that conference room. Just a form letter and an escort to the parking lot. Amanda from HR was angrier. She told me Adrian had spent her first afternoon bringing in 3 new people, all relatives or former colleagues, all hired at salaries 50% higher than the people they replaced. One was her younger sister, with no HR experience whatsoever, now earning $160,000 a year. I contacted clients. Richard Chen, our biggest account in Seattle, told me Adrian had called him Monday afternoon. She demanded he renegotiate his contract at 20% higher rates, or she would terminate the relationship. Richard, who had been with us for 8 years, was livid. Francisco, what is going on over there? This woman is insane. I am already talking to your competitors. I made notes of everything. By Wednesday evening, I had compiled a file 3 inches thick. Documentation of Adrian's nepotism. Evidence of her alienating key clients. Reports from remaining employees about toxic new policies. And the smoking gun from Carlos in finance, who had secretly forwarded me internal projections showing the branch closures Adrian planned would actually cost more money than keeping them open. The Seattle office generated 40% of regional revenue. Closing it made zero financial sense. Thursday morning, I filed the paperwork for an emergency shareholder meeting. By Thursday afternoon, every board member had received notice. Friday at 2 o'clock we convened. I walked into that conference room like a different person than the one who had been escorted out 4 days earlier. I wore the same navy suit, but this time I carried a leather briefcase instead of Orchids. Miss Patterson and 2 other lawyers from her firm flanked me. Adrian sat at the head of the table, her face unreadable when she saw me. But I caught the flash of confusion in her eyes. What is he doing here? She looked at the board chairman. Security should have banned him from the building. Miss Patterson spoke before anyone else could. My client is the largest individual shareholder of TechCore Solutions. He has every right to attend board meetings and call for votes on matters affecting corporate structure. Adrian pulled out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I watched the color drain from her face as she found the public filing. Her eyes snapped up to mine. This is impossible. The chief financial officer, an older man named Douglas, cleared his throat. The transfer is legitimate. Filed legally last Friday. Francisco owns 49% of Howard Mitchell's former shares. That makes him a primary stakeholder with full voting rights and veto power on structural changes. I set my briefcase on the table and clicked it open. I am calling for a vote of no confidence in CEO Adrian Walsh, effective immediately. I am also requesting a full audit of all hiring decisions, contract negotiations, and operational changes made in the past 5 days. You cannot do this. Adrian's voice had lost its cold confidence. It sounded almost shrill now. I have a contract. Your contract includes a performance clause. Miss Patterson slid copies of my documentation to each board member. My client has compiled evidence of decisions that violate fiduciary duty to shareholders and demonstrate gross mismanagement. I walked them through it systematically. The nepotism, the alienated clients, the financially destructive branch closures, the mass firings that eliminated institutional knowledge and damaged morale. I presented emails, financial projections, even recorded phone calls from angry clients threatening to leave. By the time I finished, 45 minutes had passed. The board members looked shell-shocked. Adrian tried to defend herself. Those changes were necessary for long-term profitability. Sometimes tough decisions upset people in the short term but pay off later. But her voice lacked conviction. The evidence was too damning. The board chairman called for a vote. All in favor of removing Adrian Walsh as CEO and conducting a full operational audit? 7 hands went up. 2 members abstained. 0 votes in support of Adrian. It was over. Adrian stood slowly, her face a mask of controlled fury. She looked at me across the table. You planned this. You and Howard. I met her gaze steadily. I planned nothing. You destroyed yourself. I just documented it. She grabbed her briefcase and walked out without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click. The room exhaled collectively. Douglas turned to me. What now, Francisco? Do you want the CEO position? I shook my head. No. I want to find someone who actually cares about this company and the people in it. Someone who builds instead of destroys. I will stay on as executive chairman to oversee strategy, but operations need someone better than me. Over the next 2 weeks, I helped the board find a replacement. We hired Michael Torres, former VP, at a competitor, someone with a reputation for growing companies while maintaining strong culture. I called back every person Adrian had fired and offered them their jobs back. Most accepted. Gerald cried on the phone. Amanda laughed with relief. We reopened communication with angry clients, offering sincere apologies and guarantees that things would be different. 6 months later, I sat in my new office, smaller than my old one, but with a better view. Executive chairman suited me better than regional director ever had. I oversaw long-term planning, worked with Michael on company culture, focused on what I did best. Building relationships, taking care of people, making sure TechCore stayed true to its original mission. Michael knocked on my open door. Got a minute, always. Come in. He sat down across from my desk, holding a quarterly report. Revenue is up 18% from last quarter. Employee satisfaction scores are the highest they have been in 3 years. Seattle branch just landed 2 major new clients. He grinned. Whatever you did, it is working. We did it. Not just me. I smiled back. How is the team strong? Morale is good. People trust leadership again. That was the biggest hurdle rebuilding trust after what Adrian put everyone through. But we are getting there. After he left, I stood at my window, looking out over the city. I thought about that Monday morning 6 months ago, standing in the lobby with orchids in my hands, naive enough to think a gesture of respect would matter to someone who had no respect to give. The humiliation of being called mediocre in front of my peers. The long walk out of the building with security at my back. I did not regret it. Every moment of that pain taught me something valuable. It taught me that patience is more powerful than immediate reaction. It taught me that sometimes you have to let people show you who they really are before you can stop them. It taught me that the universe has a strange sense of justice. Mr. Howard had seen Adrian's nature before she ever walked through our doors. He had given me the tools to protect what mattered. And when the time came, those tools made all the difference. I still had that coffee mug my team gave me, the one that said "World's Best Boss." It sat on my desk, now filled with pens. Every time I looked at it, I remembered why I fought to save this company. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for the people like Gerald and Amanda and Carlos, who deserve to work somewhere that valued them as human beings, not just line items on a spreadsheet. That morning, I walked into TechCore with orchids and hope. I left with nothing but shame. But 3 days before that, I had signed papers that changed everything. Sometimes the person you underestimate is the one holding all the cards. Sometimes the universe balances the scales in ways you cannot predict. And sometimes getting knocked down is not the end of your story. It is just the beginning of a better chapter. So here is my question for you. Have you ever been underestimated by someone in power? Have you ever had to watch someone destroy something you built, knowing you had the power to stop them but choosing to wait for the right moment? Drop your story in the comments. I would love to hear how you handled it. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that setbacks are not always defeats. Subscribe to this channel because I will be sharing more stories about navigating workplace challenges and coming out stronger on the other side. Thank you for listening. I hope wherever you are in your journey right now, you remember that your value is not determined by one person's opinion of you. Stay strong, keep building, and never let anyone convince you that your best is mediocre.